Hey everyone, so this is my second video to speak a little bit about the program I'll be doing this Wednesday at Music at Midday. Again, my name is Jean-Jobert. I'm a cellist. I play in the Louisiana Philharmonic, and I'm doing a program of all unaccompanied cello music. And I gave you kind of intro video mentioning the four works that I'm playing and how the program came together. So now I'm just going to kind of go piece by piece and tell you just a little bit about what I think makes the works interesting. I'm going to start with the first piece on the program, which is by Johann Sebastian Bach. It is one of his suites for unaccompanied cello. He wrote 6 suites. So first of all, let's just think about what a suite is, because it's a musical form, just like there are lots of different musical forms in classical music, like a concerto, a sonata, symphony, cantata, opera, all kinds of things. But a suite is a particular musical form that kind of had its heyday in the Baroque era. And what it is a grouping of movements, and it can be kind of any number, but his suites were always in 6 movements. And it's a grouping of movements that all are tied together by their relation to dance. A suite always has a little bit of something to do with dance. And so even in the modern day, when you use the word suite, usually it's going to refer to like a suite of a selection of movements from a ballet. So if maybe you could go to see the Nutcracker, let's say, and that's a full-length ballet, and you would see it with dancers and stuff. But if you go to an orchestra concert, around Christmas time, they might be doing the Nutcracker suite, which is just picking the highlights, some highlight movements from the ballet. So again, it has a relation to dance. But in the Baroque era, a suite was a very popular musical form. And so Bach wrote 6 of these for unaccompanied cello. And there's so much to talk about it. I guess I wanted to share with you guys something that I can't find, which is totally perplexing because I thought I knew exactly where it was. But I wanted to share with you guys a book that I have that has that has basically photocopies of, well, it's a published book, but a published book of copies of the 4 extant sources. That's the only way we actually know that these works exist. We don't actually have Bach's own handwriting. Nobody has found yet, in an attic in Leipzig, some manuscript that actually has where Bach wrote down all of these suites. We don't have that. We only know they exist from 4 different, or is it 6? I can't remember. I think it's 4 sources, one of whom, who copied. So, there were no Xeroxes back in the day, but 4 different people who copied out these pieces by Bach. One of whom was his wife, Anna Magdalena. So she wrote out all of these 6 suites, presumably because she, liked them and thought they were good works. She kept her own notebook of her favorite pieces by Bach. So we have her handwriting. We have the handwriting of a couple of his students that he had over the years, where they copied out their master's, compositions because they liked them and wanted to play them or distribute them or whatever. So we have these 4, and I can't remember what the 4th one was, what the relation to Bach was, but so we have these 4 different sources, and we kind of piece together what the music really was from those, because each of them's a little different, like as far as, even notes and different things, the actual pitches and rhythms are maybe a little bit different here and there in these different sources, but we've pieced together what these works were by Bach. Another little interesting thing about it is that then they were lost for many years. So I say that these 4 sources exist, and then we've figured out, the works from there. So at some point, the works got published in some kind of semi-modern, and by modern I don't mean 20th century, but in some kind of modern form they became published. And so people knew of them, we think, But then for the longest time, they just weren't known, okay? And then the very famous cellist Pablo Casals is credited with kind of rediscovering them. I don't think he really rediscovered them. I think they continue to be known, you know, in certain circles, the existence of them, but they weren't played. Insofar as they were played, they were considered to be kind of pedagogical, kind of learning tools for cellists, and that they weren't performed as the works of art that we now think they are. But Pablo Casals did a lot to change that, because he discovered some copy of them and started playing them and thought, wow, this is great music. And the story goes that it took him a year. He practiced these a year before he had the courage to play one of them in public, because he just revered them so much and felt that they needed so much attention to perfect them and anything. But now, you know, since him, cellists have just taken this music by storm and perform it all the time and love it. You can't be a cellist and not love the Bach suites. That's my opinion. But anyway, so I'm playing the fourth one. It is in the key of E flat major. And so I mentioned that a suite has to do with a dance or dances. And so with Bach, his suites are all in 6 movements. The first movement is called a prelude. So the first movement actually is not a dance. The first movement is supposed to sound kind of like just you're improvising, kind of just waking up the instrument and waking up the ears to the key of whatever the suite is going to be in. And so it's each of the preludes are very different, and they're kind of improvisatory sounding, let's say. But then the other 5 movements are all based on dances. So you might have heard of a minuet, and probably if you've heard a minuet, you know that's a form of dance. A dance that's in 3/4 times. So like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But then the other movements are called an allemande, which is a German dance from the time, and courant, which is a very quick dance for the time, a sarabande, which is a Spanish dance. I think you're starting to see a pattern here. Each of the dances are from different regions. So the courant is kind of Italian or French, however you look at it. But the sarabande is definitely a Spanish dance. And then what are the other ones in this movement? Oh yeah, they're a bourrée, that's definitely French, and a gigue. So each dance has its own characteristics. Like minuets are always in 3/4 time. Gigues are always kind of rollicking in 6/8 or 3/8. So each one has its own character. But I'm going to play you right now just a little bit of not one of the dance movements, but a little bit of the prelude. Because what I want to say about this prelude is that, like I say, all the preludes are kind of supposed to sound improvisatory. But I like this. This is one of my favorite, because I think it really reminds the listener that Bach was an organist. That was his main instrument. Of course, he was a genius, and he played several instruments, and was this prolific composer. But he was an organist, working in a church. He was a hard-working church musician. And I think that this prelude sounds the most organ-like. Like I can just see him sitting at his organ and pressing on the pedal to get the low notes, and then that keeps going, and then he does all these chords grow out of it. Because you'll hear the piece, like I say, it's in E flat, so it opens on this big E flat. And that's kind of like, the organ pedal going down, and then all this stuff happens on top of it. So I'm not going to play the very opening, I just played the very first note, but I'm just going to play a little snippet from the very end. I'm just picking it up at a random point. I'm going to play you just the end of the prelude, okay? So it goes, whoops, no, ignore that. Okay, I hope that wasn't too scratchy because I'm sitting really close to the iPhone here. Anyway, okay, you'll hear the whole prelude and all the other 5 movements of this suite by Bach on Wednesday. Thank you. Bye.